Hi, Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon alongside meteorologist John DeLucic, our Alan Matthew, and out in the field our meteorologist Joel Young as we continue to track storms behind the scenes here. Now one has prompted a tornado warning for northern sections of Tippah and part of Alcorn County. This storm has had rotation that has ramped up significantly over the last little bit. We cannot confirm a tornado touchdown at this point. That's not to say it doesn't develop one in the near future. This storm moving north and east at 45 miles per hour, and in the immediate path of this, Faulkner, Tiplerville, and Walnut. This warning in effect until 3:15 p.m. Going to the wind mode on Storm Track Doppler radar, we're going to look at the Memphis site, and you can see that tight pixel-to-pixel wind change on the Benton County side, now up to 104 miles per hour. Admittedly, we're looking a little bit up into this thunderstorm, but that's strong enough that the National Weather Service is making the correct call there to issue this tornado warning. So where do we need to go if we are up here in Tippah and sections of far northwest Alcorn County? We need to make sure we find a sturdy structure. We'll go to the middle of that on the lowest floor. Find a small windowless room, wrap up in blankets and pillows, and put on a helmet to protect ourselves from flying debris. And of course, we want to stay there until we can give you the all clear. As we mentioned, this is moving about 45 miles per hour. Let's go ahead and get a storm track on this at that speed. And we do expect that if it has not produced a tornado, that that would be a possibility within the next 5 minutes or so. When we get that pixel-to-pixel wind change in excess of 100 miles per hour, that's certainly the case. So Tiplerville, we're looking at 9 minutes for you. Calibiot there in 13 minutes as that moves toward the east and northeast. There have been other tornado warnings that have occurred just north of the Tennessee state line, and to this point, these are the strongest storms. Let's get in here close. Let's look at a few county roads. First and foremost, as we look in sections of Tippah County there, we should be just about crossing the Tippah County line as we speak. Now, there are two areas of rotation here, so give me a moment while I go back and forth between our radars here for just a moment to make sure that this is, check if this is a radar error. That's a little ahead of our thunderstorm, so I believe that to be the strong inflow winds. It is that second one back north and west there that we are the most concerned with. That is some of that rotation we definitely have to watch very closely. That pixel-to-pixel wind change, as we mentioned a moment ago, still in excess as of the latest update here at 100 miles per hour. Looking at the debris mode on Storm Track Doppler radar, we do not detect tornado debris on this at this time. But as we often mention on tornado debris, that's something to confirm. That's something after the fact. That is not a predictive element of this. But at least at this point, we cannot confirm tornado debris out of this thunderstorm here. So what are we looking at? Because we can't confirm that, this is, as we refer to, a Doppler radar indicated rotation, and that is the reason why the National Weather Service in Memphis has issued this tornado warning, because it could develop into a tornado very soon. When you have more than 100 miles per hour for that pixel-to-pixel wind change, that's fast, and so that's why that becomes the case. We cannot confirm that a tornado has been spotted out of this at this time, and as we showed you a moment ago, we cannot confirm debris, and hopefully both of those things stay that way. I want to give you a wider track on this, get some advance heads up for folks. I know we have a lot of viewers up there in Corinth and northern Alcorn County. I want to get a track on this that goes far enough ahead here that we get some advance warning for you. And so Faulkner, within the next 4 minutes, as this moves north and east at 45 miles per hour, not confirmed to be a tornado, but winds pixel-to-pixel change 100 miles per hour, still could cause damage in the straight line wind category. Chewalla, 30 minutes. Corinth, 36 minutes. Farmington in 41 minutes, and Pebble Hill in 48 minutes as this storm moves north and east at 45 miles per hour. Now that we have a new scan here, let's come in a little closer. Let's look for that tornado rotation, and we're going to look from a couple different sites. We're going to look from down in Monroe County. We're looking really high up, more than a mile up at this point, so obviously we would not be looking at exactly the ground on this, which is of course why we have storm spotters in the area. I believe our Linda with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers and Spotters should be fairly close to this one. And speaking of that, John, we probably need to touch base with Stan. Do you have Stan's number over there? Check with him in the chat. We'll be able to get his location there. Let's look at the rotation from the Memphis radar site, and that's fairly tight pixel-to-pixel wind change there at 94 miles per hour, just inside the Tippah County line, just now exiting Benton County. And so for folks who do live in Benton County, we know we have a few fringe viewers that watch us out there in Benton County. Let's give that, if you're sure you live on the Benton County side, you can come out of that tornado safe place. But if you live on the Alcorn County side, certainly that is something we're going to have to watch closely. So let's look at that pixel-to-pixel wind change on this. And so now we're looking at 94 miles per hour pixel-to-pixel wind change on this. So not quite what it was just a moment ago, but still strong enough that it could attempt to produce a tornado. Tracking that toward the east and northeast. And let's get a new time here for Walnut. We're now at the 9 minutes for you. We did get at the clip just a moment ago there, the Faulkner area, which is well, right there behind the WTVA, and so it doesn't show up, but so right there. So it looks like it's going to stay just a little bit north, but let's just double check the angle. Absolutely. So this is definitely moving more in the direction of Walnut in the last couple of scans. In fact, the last couple of scans has had more of a, more northeasterly track. So as we mentioned, this is encroaching on some of those areas there. Let's check on the debris mode here on Storm Track Doppler radar once again. Again, that's something we look at after the fact. We'd be looking right there. And what we do not have is anything on that that is overly concerning at this point. So luckily, we cannot confirm tornado debris. This is the beginning of what will become a more complex and possibly more active afternoon. There are some positive indications, hopefully limiting the overall coverage of storms, but we do expect to have more warnings. Never rely on just one source. If you watch us on WTVA and your signal has a tendency to go out, the WTVA weather app as well as WTVA News app, a good way to stay connected with us. But you want to make sure you have lots of ways to get your warning information. We always recommend, my wife has at home our weather call active for her location there. That WTVA weather call is a phone alert that lets you know, hey, we need to take shelter right now. The WTVA weather app, NOAA weather radio, Code Red, and the FEMA app, all also alternatives to make sure that as these storms move into your area, that you know that they are coming and you know what they are capable of. We're not going to have a lot of time to get some other folks here in a minute, simply because this is going to be bearing down for locations up in Tippah County, really on some cities here in the next few moments. So that's why I want to quickly show you these storms that we have down here, Golden Triangle area. We are not concerned with any tornado potential on these. They're what we refer to as elevated, and so that means that they're not for sure getting all the way down to the ground, and so that's a good sign there. But a tornado warning does continue for locations up in northern Tippah County. I want to look at the debris mode here on Storm Track Doppler radar. I want to double check this as this gets closer to Faulkner there, and let's check the wind mode. We're going to have to keep probing and prodding this. And this has this, now hold on, are we getting, okay, there we are. Looks like we're getting some gaps in this radar data there. But there we are. We show rotation on here. Now, this is where it's at on County Road 301, just south of County Road 306, south and west of Walnut. There are some reports coming in from the National Weather Service that this could be producing a tornado at this instant. We don't have confirmation. John, would you double check with them and see if that is from a spotter or if they're assuming that based on radar data?
Okay, also,
the language is a little vague.
I do have Stan's number if you need it.
Huh?
I do have Stan's number. Do you want
You do? Let's find out where he is, if we could. We'll touch base with him. Let's look for debris. Well, now hold on a second here. Watch this. We're looking at 230 there, right there, just on the other side of the Tippah County line. I'm going to take the wind back to 230. Yep. That was probably at least a brief tornado touchdown. It's not a lot of that blue showing up there because we are looking awfully high up. But that briefly, probably at 230, was a tornado touchdown as it crossed into sections of Tippah County there. We might still barely see a return there just west of County Road 301. So at this instant, I think we can change our definition here, and hopefully this is something that activates you to go to that safe place if you live in Walnut. We can at this point confirm that we had at least briefly some tornado debris lofted up by this thunderstorm. And while it has not been spotted, the discussion with the Weather Service saying rain-wrapped, likely rain-wrapped on it, but we have confirmed now tornado debris at least briefly on this thunderstorm as it crossed into Tippah County. So rotation definitely is strong. That at this point has been the most reliable way that we can track it, is that strong rotation. We should be getting a new scan in here any moment. And so the distance between this and Walnut is now less than 4 miles. So for folks who live in Walnut, we need to be getting to that tornado safe place. As we often mention, that's the lowest floor of a sturdy structure. This is going to take 10, 15 minutes out of your day. We don't need you down there for 3 hours, but we do need you down there now. And so we need to, if it's a below ground shelter, great. If it's outdoor shelter, you need to go. Make sure that weather app is up and going. You can watch that live stream in your shelter. Find a small windowless room if you don't have a reinforced shelter and you live near the Walnut area. Wrap up in blankets and pillows and put on a helmet to protect yourself from the potential of flying debris, and stay there until we can give you the all clear. And that's obviously not now. I know this is just a massive rainfall. Let's go back to the wind mode here. Hopefully we have an updated position. We do. I now show that our rotation that has within the last 5 minutes produced at least a brief tornado touchdown. It would be along and very near County Road. Well, I covered it up there, so let's move it to where I can see it. County Road 306 just southwest of the city grid of Walnut. I know Walnut's one of those communities, you live in Walnut and you live 3 miles north, 5 miles south. We're talking now 2 miles south and west of the intersection of US 72 and Mississippi Highway 15. And speaking of both of those highways, if you know some folks that are traveling on 72 from Memphis heading back toward the Corinth area, we need to make sure that they are stopping. We need to stop them back west. Let's just stop them to be safe at the Benton-Tippah County line. And on the Alcorn County side, obviously we're going to watch this closely, but we probably want to be holding them back in Corinth for a little bit. Though Corinth is on the edge of this tornado warning on the far east side, it's not quite on a track that's going to take it in there for you. John, I see you looking at me. Go ahead and it's in front of the camera there.
Okay, just tell you that Stan is right now in Leland, so that's a ways off, and also
he's where?
In Leland, Mississippi.
Leland, okay, so he's down a little south. Okay.
And also the
Is your mic on?
National Weather Service. Well, National Weather Service reports that tornado was just a radar indicated. They do not have an official report.
Okay.
Tornado
Austin,
radar
you might turn my earpiece off so I can tell what's on and off on that, and then punch it up and punch it down when the time comes. Okay, well, I'm enabled one way or another. Anyway. Okay, so this is pretty much on top of Walnut now. We're at crunch time. Within the next 30 seconds or so, we're probably going to get an update, and it's going to take this rotation and put it on at least the central to south side of Walnut near the intersection there of 15 and 72. We believe this to be a tornado. Looking at the debris mode here on Storm Track Doppler radar, it's not what it was a few minutes ago, but we're also looking pretty high up on this, so I don't expect in this case to be able to have a good lock at this. Monroe County is still a little high, so we're going to have to stick here with the Memphis radar site. So this is less than now 2 miles south, and in fact, looking at the latest scan there, this has taken a little bit of a turn more toward Collegiate. So this is going to be close. So now we're tracking this just south of US 72. We need to remain in that tornado safe place if you live in Walnut. I would say this is 2 miles south and east of Walnut is where we have our rotation at this moment. I put it pretty close to Collegiate, meaning it's going to cross US 72. If it is still producing a tornado, it's going to do that within probably the next minute or so, simply because it's moving a little less than a mile a minute, and this radar is at least moments old. So that would put it within the next minute on 72, very near County Road 100. So near the intersection of County Road 100 and US 72 in Tippah County is where we believe that this rotation will track. And so we need to hold folks back in the Walnut area. We need to hold them back on the Alcorn County line just to make sure that they don't get into this. But we have to be in that tornado safe place if we live near Collegiate at this moment, near County Highway there, 354, excuse me, Highway 354 on County Road 218. Let's reset here for a moment. We have a tornado warning that is in effect for locations in Tippah and Alcorn County. That in effect until 3:15. That a tornado that has been confirmed to have at least briefly touched down using the wind mode on Storm Track Doppler radar, as well as the debris mode. That debris was not large, but we're also looking pretty high up in this thunderstorm, so we're taking a pretty strong tornado to get it high enough for us to see it based on the exact look of where we have it. But definitely rotation that is strong on this. For folks who do live in Tiplerville, we can come out of that tornado safe place. Walnut, I need you to give me 5 more minutes, and then we can do the same as this continues to move toward the north and east. Let's talk again about where we need to be. And that needs to be on the lowest floor of a sturdy structure. We need to be in the middle of that. Find a small windowless room, wrap up with blankets and pillows, and put a helmet on to protect yourself if necessary. My kids, we just keep it in our safe place, which at our house ends up being underneath a reinforced staircase. And so all the things we need. The helmets are there, the blankets and pillows as necessary. Prepare if you're not in this tornado warning to have that stuff near your safe place. So when the warning is issued, it's not go grab stuff and move it there. It's just get yourself and tell your children to come along with you if necessary. So let's look at where we track this tornado to be at this moment here. Again, we believe this to be strong rotation, maybe not quite as strong as it was just a little bit ago when it was more than 100 miles per hour. It's now down to 69 miles per hour. So it's a little bit weaker. That's not to say it's not still producing a tornado, but that takes our confidence in the fact that it's producing a tornado down just a little bit. The current location, I would place it near the intersection of County Road 100 there and US 72. We were talking about maybe just a half a mile to the east of that. is where we have it. So it would be crossing, if it hasn't already crossed US 72 in moments, it will. And it will also cross into Alcorn County within the next few moments as well. Let's do a longer range track on the angle and the direction that this is heading. And I have a new scan coming in here in a moment, so I'm just going to, if you don't mind, I'm going to wait here a moment for that latest data so I can make sure we have the exact latest spot. There we are. And so this is about to track toward Lone Pine within 6 minutes, Chewalla there in 14 minutes, Raymer within 18 minutes, Eastview in 23 minutes, and Needmore in 29 minutes. One place it is not tracking toward is Corinth. So we, I'm sure, have, especially on the north side of Corinth, there are a lot of weather calls that went off just a little bit ago. This is a non-factor for Corinth. This is going to stay north. That's not to say you're not going to have some strong winds with this, but at this moment here, we do not see at least a circulation that's going to head toward you. This is heading more north and east at 45 miles per hour. Give me just a moment here. Okay, so report about 2.5 miles west of Faulkner. About 10 minutes ago, the academic folks, so there's some people that are out there doing some research on this today, reported a brief tornado touchdown, and it was the south and east of those, right there. Remember, we looked at 2 areas where we had rotation. This one looks like that might have been a brief tornado there. But there's no precipitation on that. Let's go back here to 29. Let's track that forward and make sure we've got that as well. Just give me a moment here. I can see that. I can see that there. So you had 2 areas there where you had your rotation. So let's track that forward, make sure we know exactly where that one is going at this moment. That is in Alcorn County, so let's check that in particular for folks who live west of Corinth. Let's go back to that wind mode here. We're looking so high up in the thunderstorm. Okay, so I see our 2 areas where this residual circulation is not quite as impressive, but let's get a track on that one there. And so as that moves in through northern sections of Alcorn County, Lone Pine within about the next 3 to 4 minutes, Chewalla in 12 minutes, Winnesoga there within 14 minutes. This is rotation that could potentially produce a tornado, has at least briefly produced a tornado as well. So definitely got to be very, very cautious about this and assume these could potentially be damaging. If there was at least a brief tornado reported by folks in the field, that's clearly a concern here. Let's widen this out for a moment. Let's make sure we're not missing something else. We have quite a few storms that we're monitoring. Most of these ahead, all still good. These are all well below severe levels. If you're in Haitaji or you're back here, we're in Columbus or Macon, you're wondering why we're not talking about you. It's because these thunderstorms are not potent enough to produce tornadoes. And there is some concern in a good way that hopefully some of these thunderstorms farther north will be impacted and have less fuel to go off of because here's the line we're expecting to produce our tornadoes a little later on, and as you'll note here looking at it, these aren't overly strong. They're also in a radar hole, and they might not be super tall thunderstorms, but this is the main activity we're tracking for later this evening and later this afternoon to move in. I don't want to dwell too long about that, simply because we do have what have been a couple of confirmed tornadic rotations on this and perhaps a couple of brief tornadoes. Now in Alcorn County, the area that we're looking very near Lone Pine, approaching the Gift community near US 72. Let's go to the wind mode here. And that circulation from at least Memphis is more difficult to pick out. It's still a little more obvious in the Monroe County site there, and it still has it back just a little ways there along US 72. So there's really a couple spots there that we're concerned about, and we're just looking pretty high up here, and so that makes it pretty difficult to exactly pinpoint. Sometimes you go back an hour ago and there was one that we were looking at here along US 72, Weather Service Memphis waited until that crossed the Tennessee state line to issue a tornado warning on that. That's clear cut. You look at what we have here, it's not, and that's usually a good thing. That's still a sign that this could be 50 or greater wind gusts on this as it moves toward the east, but luckily, hopefully that limits the tornado potential somewhat. Let's get a new track here. And Theo now showing up within 4 minutes, the Gift community within 9 minutes, and Winnesoga there in 14 minutes. That's the report of that brief tornado touchdown now confirmed as of 2:31 p.m., just a little bit west of Faulkner, about 2.5 miles west of Faulkner. We did have a brief tornado that was out of this circulation and out of this storm, and that's the reason why, if you're wanting to know at 2:46 p.m. why you're not watching whatever it is you were planning on watching right now, it's because within the last 15 minutes we have had a tornado touchdown in sections of Alcorn County. Austin, we'll go ahead and mute John's mic for a minute here and we'll kind of mute and unmute that. Thank you. I appreciate that. Unless, John, do you have any reports to come in? No? Okay. Okay. No reports, by the way, is a good sign. Let's go to the debris mode here on Storm Track Doppler radar just to make sure we don't have anything there. We would be looking for something that's blue or black, what we call a low correlation. That's where we're looking for raindrops, as well as pieces of leaves and trees and things that are lofted up. And so when it's all raindrops, it's all the same. It correlates high. When it's not, that's when we get concerned, and it's low, and that's not the case at this point. So that's fortunately a good sign in that regard. For folks who do live in Corinth, and there's some folks that probably consider you have a Corinth address and you live outside of town, out here west of town. Certainly we have to be in that tornado safe place near the gift community north of Highway 72 in northern Alcorn County. This has gone maybe just a little bit more east the last couple of scans here. And this is by no means the strongest storm we've ever shown you on Storm Track Doppler radar, and that makes dissecting it and finding these rotations a little bit more difficult as a result. But when we mention that, the tornado safe place, we need to make sure it's the middle of a sturdy structure on the lowest floor, a small windowless room, and wrap up in blankets and pillows or put on a helmet to protect yourself from debris and stay there until we can give you the all clear. If you live a little beyond these tornado warnings and you're trying to prepare the family, know where you need to go, you want to make sure you keep that phone charged, because if you're watching us in the live stream, if your phone's like mine, that takes a lot of electricity. So keep your phone charged, wear hard-soled shoes, gather important documents and put them in that safe place. Move the helmets there, as we talked about a moment ago, and stay within steps of that safe place, and have a reliable warning method so that you can get those alerts as necessary. You want to avoid some of these spots, cars and trucks, meaning if you're in one of the other spots and we're waiting for these storms to come later on and you don't feel like the structure you're in is safe, say you're in a mobile home, we need to get to those locations where we do have a safe place, a friend, a relative. We need to go make our Saturday afternoon, early evening plans to be with them so that we can be in that safest place. Avoid large open rooms, upper floors, and rooms with windows. Wind mode, Storm Track Doppler radar. And again, this is tightened up just a little bit more in the last couple of moments here, just south and east of Lone Pine. So let's circle this. This could be attempting to strengthen once again and has more of a potential than it did even a couple minutes ago to be a tornado. As we look at this, we're just east of County Road 759, south of County Road 760, south and east of Lone Pine, where we depict it as of 2:46 p.m. And by the way, anytime we show you radar here, it's at least seconds old. This scan has come in within the last minute, but we do expect a new one in the next 30 seconds or so. They'll help us with the placement of this. Let's check and see just how strong that is. A lot of times we can tell the intensity of the circulation and correlate that back to whether or not it's producing a tornado. 58 miles per hour is about half of what it was just a minute ago as it was producing that tornado near the Faulkner area. So that's a good sign, hopefully a sign that it continues, but it's at least clearer on Storm Track Doppler radar. And there's our new scan, which now has advanced it into the far northern extent there of Alcorn County. Let's check here on the wind mode how fast that circulation is. I anticipate it'll be close, if not a little less than the last one. 54 miles per hour is that pixel-to-pixel wind change south of Old Reed Schoolhouse Road in far northern and northwestern Alcorn County. So for some perspective here, as it's just north of County Road, let's get that right, County Road 760. For folks that do live in Corinth, and I'll get both Corinth and this into the picture here. Corinth, y'all are good. You don't necessarily need to be in that tornado safe place. If you have a Corinth address and you're out here north and west of town, obviously we're talking about something different. If you live west of US 45 or north of US 72 and you're outside the immediate city limits, we need to stay in that tornado safe place. This is probably going to stay a little north and west of a lot of the folks there, but we just want to be very careful just in case. It's located at this point near Big Hill Pond State Park and continues moving north and east. They've upped it to 55 miles per hour on that speed, so they have increased the speed just a little bit on this circulation. And so let's get a couple other spots into this. Chihuahua within 4 minutes. Winnesoga within 6 minutes. You see some of these times. We've mentioned these cities a couple of times here. The times continue to count down. The Guys community in 9 minutes and 11 minutes into Eastview. This is a rotation that could potentially be a tornado. Taylor, have we had a chance to talk to the folks up in Tippah County to check and see about damage?
I will call the EMA.
Okay, yeah, we have any news from them?
Not yet.
Okay.
But I'm going to call them right now.
We should have a little bit of information coming in here in a second from our Liz Zamora on some of the information coming out of Tippah County. So stay tuned for that here in a minute as they continue to try to get that together behind the scenes. But we've at very least been able to confirm at least one tornado touchdown with that. Now our circulation is becoming a little more pronounced out of Monroe County. Even though we're looking slightly higher and it's not maybe as high resolution, it allows us to more easily pick out where they are. And you can see there's a couple of them there. I'm going to double check this back one here in a second. But just north and west of the gift community there, moving. It'll probably within the next minute here cross the Tennessee state line. Tree debris. Okay, so we did get a report on that tornado in Tippah County, potentially working to confirm this, of a little tree damage on Highway 15. Looks like north of Faulkner by about a half a mile, at least some tree damage. The fact it's not telling me home damage and things like that, hopefully that relates back to the intensity. Our thoughts and prayers, obviously, for those folks up there in Tippah County and continue for the folks in Alcorn County as well. I mentioned there are two circulations here. We'll look at the rainfall mode on Storm Track Doppler radar. We're looking a long ways away from Monroe County. Yeah, you can see an area there where that circulation is showing up. What this is, and this is one thing, one takeaway, is that there's a couple of spots in here that are trying to regenerate. I mean, this is a gnarly looking storm and just all the little fingers and things extending out from it there. But our circulation, there's also one there in far southwest sections of Alcorn County. I know we've now pinpointed 3 different circulations on this specific thunderstorm here. That tells you that there's a lot of what we call shear in the atmosphere, ability to get these storms to rotate. And when that happens, obviously this is the situation we find ourselves. I'm going to tell you this. I'm not going to track this one, and here's why. Because the lead circulation is going to have some of these same spots in it. So in a minute or two, I'm going to track this one. But certainly if you live along US 72 in western Alcorn County, we want you in that tornado safe place. You're just outside of this. I know this red line indicates that tornado warning. But because of the circulation, and there have been a couple of these that have quickly ratcheted up on this, because that circulation is outside the tornado warning, I don't want to get the folks in head too little time. And convince them, hey, I still have some time, when maybe that's not the case. Let's go to the wind mode here on Storm Track Doppler radar. Our circulation that is north of the gift community, about to cross, and in the next couple moments here will be crossing the Alcorn-McNairy county line, the Tennessee state line. And so Winnesoga within 4 minutes, the Guys community within 8 minutes, Eastview within 10 minutes as that moves north and east. Let's look out of Memphis. We're kind of in a zone here where we don't really have a great look no matter which radar site we look at. We're just pretty high up here. Hey, Alan, John, look at the monitor if you would, and let's look at the big monitor there. Okay, so we have a couple of those circulations. What do you think about this one back to the south and west, south of Lone Pine? It's kind of a new RFD, but it doesn't look quite as impressive. Would you agree? Yeah,
not as impressive, but still, it would be a thing certainly to watch. I mean, it's right now, it doesn't look much stronger, much different than the one near Chihuahua.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the one near Chihuahua has now crossed the Tennessee state line. That's one of those magical political boundaries where people on DirecTV and things like that can't see us anymore, and this becomes a different viewing area, so we're passing off the folks. I believe that's Jackson, Tennessee up there, and so we're passing off to those folks up there as that moves out of our area. That one near Lone Pine, now I feel better giving you a track, so we're not giving a track to somebody that it's going to be more imminently in the pathway of this. Within 1 minute, the Lone Pine community in Chihuahua shortly thereafter. Our Taylor Smith here with some more information on what we're seeing. What are you hearing out at Tippah County?
So we did just get some calls saying that Tiplersville might have been hit by some type of storm, and the power is out in multiple areas, and trees are down in the roads as well. We are still trying to call the EMA director.
It's probably pretty busy.
Yeah, so we did leave a message with him, so that's what we are receiving right now. Tiplersville in Tippah County.
Okay, some damage around Tiplerville. Thank you. That's our Taylor Smith working to gather information behind the scenes, as you heard there. So now we've gone to where we have multiple layers of this. We have confirmation of tornado touchdown, now confirmation of at least some sort of damage, potentially tornado damage that the thunderstorm has produced. There's a couple little hook areas back there. None of these is as strong as when it produced tornadoes. They're all areas that we're going to have to watch as they continue to move east and northeast. So that's the reason why I think the Weather Service Memphis has allowed this to kind of hang on a little longer, is because there's a couple of those that just continue to show. I mean, it shows you the amount of sheer ability to get these storms rotating that we have in the atmosphere. So notice, we've talked about Corinth, you're fine, you're fine. Yet now we have yet another one here where I'm mentioning Corinth again. What's happening on the back side of this, and you can see the times on your screen there, and some of those folks we showed 3 or 4 times now. But if we go back a couple of scans on this, you can see how it's just, there's some redevelopment. You had 1, 2, 3 cells there originally, the one that produced the tornado and a couple others that are trying. The first one is going fairly slow, and the back 2 there are trying to join with it, and they're going through a cell merger, and sometimes that enhances the rotation, sometimes it completely eliminates it. And at this point, we're just protecting against that possibility that it could enhance it. So Gift Community in 7 minutes, Winnesoga in 11 minutes. This is a secondary rotation. If we have some folks on live stream up there on the north side of the Tennessee state line, you see some of these times here. These are wrong for the first rotation. This is for the secondary rotation because we're on the Mississippi side of things here. We're concentrating on the rotations that are still in our area as opposed to north. So if you're watching us, happy to be watching us north of the Tennessee state line, know this, that these times, if you're expecting it for that first wave, those are incorrect. The time's much shorter. Subtract 10 minutes, in fact, in most of those cases on the Tennessee side for that first wave. Let's go ahead and reset things for a moment here. Meteorologist Matt Lawpon alongside our meteorologist John DeLusick, Alan Matthew, our meteorologist Joel Young in the field tracking the very latest on these thunderstorms. What we have at this instant is a tornado warning that continues for northern Alcorn County, but we do have other thunderstorms back in the Mississippi Delta that are continuing to strengthen. As we kick this over to the radar side out of Jackson, there's a couple of these here that we're watching, and I know they're small, but the atmosphere, if they can get just a little bit deeper, is set up to where they're going to have some pretty strong rotation. Now, is that rotation going to produce a tornado? Hopefully not. The moisture is very marginal. As we mentioned, I think on live stream earlier, if you're looking for a thing to pray falls out of alignment, that moisture not being perfect, that's what we're praying for on that here. So we know we have a lot of prayer warriors out there like to help us out on that. We appreciate, and we know the folks at home appreciate that as well. So as we look at this just west of Greenwood, I'm not going to necessarily dwell on this, but what I do want to do is I want to get a time. So if you give me a moment here, I want to get how long so we can give some advanced heads up, being that this is in a zone where it could eventually try to produce a tornado, and there has been at least some high resolution modeling, some indications that that is the possibility of this. Now this is going about 45 miles per hour. So I'm going to go 50 on it just in case it speeds up just a little bit. Let's get it to current time here. Let's make it loop, and let's track it. Okay. So this is some advanced heads up. This cone is going to capture some folks on the north and south side that it might not hit, such as Bruce there, a little more than an hour. Houston about an hour and a half. And nearer, obviously, Greenwood, Grenada, the first location in our viewing area that would have some impacts with that. And that'd be about 42 minutes if it continues at this speed. That at some point could strengthen a little more. And that is one that we are definitely watching closely. Storm reports continue to come in.